All right, we are on. Hello, everyone. Checking the delay. On. Hello, everyone. All right, we are on. Delay. All right, so hello, everyone. I am Vernita. I go by Dr. V. I'm your brilliant solutionist. And so we're going to jump right in. We have been talking about September is significant, and we are already on lesson 7. Okay. We are already on lesson 7, stating your tolerations, how to deal with unmanaged frustration. So remember, I'm not going to do a full recap. I invite you, if this is your first one, go all the way back to the welcome video and the first video so you can understand your personal p-value, which is the probability, is your statistical significance is 5%. Research, I go through all of that, but we're taking that from research and applying it to our practical lives. So when I'm talking about stating your tolerations, we're going to do that through the lens of your personal p-value, your statistical significance, the 5% of the data that you can control. Now, remember, in order for all of this to work, can you do these things in isolation? Yes, but in order for them to stick, you need to go through the order, like go through the sequence. So the first thing you need to do is to set up your vision and then go through all of those steps that I talked about. So go to part 1 and go all the way to part 6 and then show up for part 7. Now you can stay here, but I do invite you to go back and like those videos, comment, and share those so then this can make sense. So when we're talking about tolerations, I'm going to give you the definition first, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit on how to state them and then deal with them. And then I'm going to talk about something that I saw on Threads that I want to weave into what this can look like on a practical level as far as we're going to talk about money because that's one of the areas. And I saw something on Threads and it was like confirmation, that's what we're going to do. So, a toleration, and I got this from several places. So, this isn't anything brand new. So, all I'm doing is putting it together for you. So, a toleration is someone was in Thomas Leonard. You know, he started off with the life coaching and he coined the term tolerations and he described it as an irritating, distracting, and he described them as things that are irritating, distracting, and saps your energy. And then he says that the tolerations can undermine your pursuit of your highest goals. And that is very true. Even when I was going through personal development, which now, if you've been following me for a while, I am changing that to personal leadership. And I got that from a coach slash mentor that I've worked with because that feels better to me instead of just personal help, personal development or self-help, personal leadership, things that you can work on yourself so that you can get the outcomes and desires that you want. Another definition of tolerations are annoyances, irritations, and problems you're putting up with or putting off. You're condoning them or you're disregarding them, and they could range from minor issues to major issues. And a lot of, sometimes you think of toleration as, oh, I just can't control that, but that's not true. These are things that you do have control over. And then sometimes, like we in our minds, we get this mixed up. We deal with the tolerations because we think those are the things that we cannot control. But then we tend to focus on things that are beyond our control, but act as if we have control over them. And that causes us also that causes us a lot of frustration and send us into a whole spiral. So we need to shift that way of thinking, and then we need to really understand what we're tolerating. So now, with those brief definitions, this is how it relates to your statistical significance and how it relates to your highest vision. Remember, in order for this to work for you, you have to filter it through the lens of your vision for yourself. And then within that, you can start breaking down some goals that are aligned to the vision, right? So some things are gonna make sense. I wish I had it in front of me. It is, oh, wait. I'm gonna show you an example. I didn't go through all of this. I got this from another coach and mentor, so this isn't mine. But this is what I mean. Like you have a big vision up here, then you state some goals or strategies on how it's going to relate to the vision, and then you talk about what you're going to do. So that's just a small version of how you can break things down. A lot of us get so caught up in, oh, the vision or my purpose in life. Just make the umbrella of the purpose, and then break down the goals. It's going to take you to do some work or work with a coach or strategist to help you break those down, right? All right. So once you've done that, you'll start getting results if you've gone through 1 through 6. Then there's a point in your life where you're going to bump up against something. You're like, why am I not continuing to reach this plateau, or why am I not breaking? I call them personal glass ceilings. And then there are other people talked about that. I remember I worked with someone and she was like, no one's walking around talking about their personal glass ceilings. But you may not use the same phrase, but if you're stuck at a level, then that means there's a barrier at the top that you need to break through. So I call your personal glass ceilings. A lot of times we think that people, jobs, the man, society, government are keeping us at a certain level, but no, we are in a lot of situations. There are some people, I can't remember who said it. One of those big name personal development people. And if you know it, put it down the list. I just heard it yesterday and it's not coming to my head, but raising your lid. It was either Bob Proctor, Wayne Dyer, Jim Rohn, one of those people said it, but about raising your lid. So that's the same thing of breaking your personal glass ceiling, and then let your lid be your wherever your lid is to be your floor, whatever your ceiling is, let that be your floor. Whatever is breaking you, you want to get above that so that you can go to your next level. That is what next level is talking about. Like a lot of people talk about going to your next level, but don't really define what that is. It is if I am all, here's just a small example. If I'm always getting into arguments with a spouse, a sibling, a relative, a friend, and I want to change that communication. Now, I can't change that person. And a lot of us try to do that, but we have to look within ourselves. What is causing me to react a certain way? How can I change my communication? Not change who you are to shrink or anything, but how can I shift my approach, my personal leadership to navigate through that? So going to the next level where I used to always confront without, just cutting them off. It's like, well, every time this person did something or said these words, I would get triggered. And that would cause me to spin out. Okay, well, now that I'm aware of these words, I've dealt with why I do that. So my next level would be if they say something, then I, manage my emotions and my reactions. And that could be a form of going to the next level. Another thing is, okay, now they're still doing that. I don't like that. Now I'm going to confront them or carefront them and have a discussion, but I've worked on how I'm going to do that. So not only do I stop myself from being triggered, I just don't, if I love them and I value this relationship, I don't like the way they talk to me. So we're going to have a discussion in a loving, direct dialogue. Those are incremental steps of going to the next level. So I just wanted to put that out there. Okay. So tolerations, we talked about those little annoyances. Tolerations are those things there I believe that there are between 5 to 15 areas of your life that you can navigate through. In my book, Embracing Grit for Greatness, I talk about five. There are the big five. You can do, let me health and wellness, of course, faith and spirituality, uh, relationships, career, business, and finances. Those are usually the solid five that people deal with. And then you can start expanding to the 9 areas of your life. You can look that up. And then there's this thing called Life Book. They talk about 12. And through like my research and putting things together, I found 15. And so when we're talking about statistical significance, there's no way that you should try to go and up level all 15 plus areas of your life within a few months or within a year. Some of this could take years, but you should still be seeing progress. As far as statistical significance, it is the 5%. So you get to choose which areas as they relate to your vision, as they relate to your goals. You choose the areas that you want to focus on. Once you focus on those areas or you have those goals, then this is where you start getting really personal and serious about your self awareness, about yourself. What's keeping you, if you're talking about health, and this is beyond just releasing weight. Like we all know what to do. Move more, eat less, right? And or you may have well, let's just start this. So in general, we all know what to do, but we don't do it. Then if you're really focused on your health and wellness, then you're saying, okay, if I'm if I'm doing the things like I'm going to work out, I am eating right, but I'm still stuck. Like I may have released 10 pounds, but this last five, or maybe the last 10 is just still laying around. What is it? This is where you get serious with yourself and take a deep dive. And you may need a coach or strategist to help you see your blind spots. But you sit there and then you start tracking and monitoring yourself like, well, can I increase my workouts, or can I shift something with my food, or maybe I need to go and get a medical professional because it could be something, internally or whatever. And then but so so then you sit so then I'm trying to break this down so it doesn't sound like too out there, because it's something so simple but that we don't do. So either you sit there, so this is a toleration. Thank you, Jesus. If you It's easy to say, okay, I released this 10 pounds, and then your goal was to release 20, but you can't get across that line for the next 10. It's easy to say, well, this is all that I accept, or this is just the way my body is, and things like that. That is a form of toleration, especially there's nothing medically. That's why go get checked out in a physician. Like, I'm a doctor, but not that kind of doctor. So you have to ask yourself what, because you saw results, but now there's a personal glass ceiling there, that you're a plateau. Then you have to say, well, what is it that I'm tolerating? So maybe there's sometimes you kind of sneak some snacks in that you think are healthy, but they're not. But you're doing that maybe after, you had an argument or a disappointment, or you have too much downtime. Like those small things, those are the things, the differences between good and great, great and phenomenal. Those little tweaks like that, those are the difference between being uh like a professional athlete and an elite athlete, like an Olympic level athlete, right? Amateur and pro, we talked about that. So those are the things that we really start having to get down to the nitty gritty, because tolerations are those sneaky things. Something, think about like if your office environment, and I had to deal with this as well. It's like, okay, you're productive, you're doing some things, but why aren't you fully at the level where you can go? Like you can see it. It's like, why am I not executing, or why do I get drained after a certain level? Like I'm still feeling this. I could be doing more. And is beyond just positive thinking or just push yourself. It could really be your environment. It could be some clutter somewhere that subconsciously in your mind that you always see it. It's just like that hidden, visible thing. And I know it sounds minor. This is why we're talking about statistical significance at 5%. If you go organize that shelf, or clean out that desk drawer, or have your desk organized in a way that is clear of clutter, you'll be surprised about what you can accomplish. Same thing if it's in your bedroom, uh, the closet, the kitchen. I did this training like a couple years ago, and I invited everyone to go clear out a junk drawer that's in their house, because it's kind of like it's kind of a symbol of your life. There are things that are organized, but there's this one small part that is still in disarray and chaos, and your mind knows that. And our brains are interesting things, and it's like there's a part of us that still nags, and it's like you want to show up to be this powerful, organized rock star of a person, but then you're feeling like a fraud. I don't like to use imposter syndrome. I did a video on that, but it's like perceived fraudulence. It's like you're not showing up fully because subconsciously somewhere deep down you're still thinking about that junk drawer, or that messy office, or your car, or things like that. So think about that. I know you're like, it can't be that deep. It is. It's those minor things. I think, what is the phrase? The small foxes spoil the vineyard, or something like that. You can have the smallest thing, cankerworm in the grass. You can have this beautiful lawn, but if you don't get those little cankerworms or those little weeds out, it can destroy everything that you've worked so hard for. So if you're like, what is wrong with me? Before we go all off on the deep end, you will need some personal leadership within yourself. And if you can't do this on your own, seek support to where someone can hold you accountable and call you to your greatness, pull that out of you and say, what are you tolerating in this particular area? A downside of personal development that I've experienced, which is why I want to talk to you in this way, is you can get so consumed with trying to work on all of your tolerations in every single area. And I talked to you about the main five, or the 15. You could be, so this is where I want you to be careful. When you have your big vision, uh, for your life, all of the categories are going to align to the vision, because if God gave you that purpose and all the things are going to work according to that, it is going to do that. We need to learn how to now within that we have to learn how to prioritize the goals the tasks, the assignments that we're doing, right? Whatever season you're in or whatever assignment that you're in, those are the tolerations that you deal with. So if you're, I mean, health and wellness is always going to be one, but uh let's see let's say parenting. I'm just throwing it out there. If parenting in this season is not, how can I say this? If what you're working on, and if you're a decent parent, what you're working on doesn't hinder your parenthood, but then you're so consumed with wanting to be the best parent ever, but that's not the season that you need to be in, that could backfire on you. And I'm trying to be careful with what I'm saying, but let me know down below if you're getting it. If you're so focused on trying to be the best parent and it's distracting you from your assignment, then it could backfire, because then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not a good parent, I'm not present, or I'm feeling guilty, this, that, and the other. And that probably isn't the case. But if you're focused on that when it's not the time to do that, then it's gonna put you at a standstill, or it's gonna cause you to slip. It's gonna knock you down a couple of notches, right? And so let me know if that makes sense. And you can put that in any other area. Like they're all important, but it's a matter of what you focus on first and what tolerations that you are dealing with, right? So you want to make sure, and no one can tell you what to do. I can't tell you what, without knowing the big picture. I can't say, well, don't focus on that until you get this together. It's individualized, and you can do a few at a time, but you can't do all of them. One thing I So let me know down below if that makes sense. When you're there are five that you can focus on. I think the five that I named, those can be your foundation blocks, and then you can start incorporating other ones, but they have to be aligned to you, what you're doing, and in the season that you're in. You have to be honest about that. If you don't have any children yet, then this may not be the time for you to start going down the rabbit hole of learning how to be the best parent, unless you're close to that season, about to become one. But if it's like 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, then it doesn't make sense for you to do that. And I know you're like, well, who does that? I've been in a lot of personal development programs and coaching in that space where people are just grabbing at straws, trying to deal with things just dealing with themselves. And it becomes so consumed with trying to better themselves in every single area. And it's like, that can wait. Right? You don't have to go do a deep dive on that right now, because it's going to cause it's a distraction. And personal development, always trying to improve yourself before you do anything else, can be a distraction. So I know that we've gone down this rabbit hole of we kind of took this tangent off tolerations, but I wanted you to understand why you need to focus on tolerations and don't try to focus on everything, right? I gave the example of physical environment. Well, right, it may not be the physical environment for you, so you don't want to get distracted by, oh, let me go make sure my house is fully, organized before I go write my book. Like you may need to organize your house, but if it's not causing if that is not the toleration you need to vote to state and deal with as you're doing that, then you're just fooling yourself and putting off writing your book. All right. So let me know down below if that is making sense for you. All right. So let me tell you these 5 areas real quick, and then I'm gonna tell you some questions. So I already told you health and wellness. I already told you about finances. We're gonna talk about something on finances, what I saw on threads. Your spirituality, which I think is your faith, but choose do you. Your career and networking, and then your family and your relationships. Focus on those 5 areas. Those can be your foundations, right? And then when you do that, as they align to your big vision and your goals or your assignments in the season, these are some questions you can ask yourself. What am I tolerating or putting up with within those categories that align to it? Now, because this is why you have to be strategic, and this is why we're talking about the statistical significance at 5%, because we can go through the list and be here for days writing down the things that we're tolerating, but that doesn't serve a purpose if it's just a bunch of things that are just out there. We have to narrow it down so we can state them and then deal with them, get them out of the way, make sure that they don't come back, and then go to the next. All right. So, what am I tolerating or putting up with as it relates to what I'm doing now? Where am I blindly following a routine that no longer works? And you can answer that for yourself. You know some of the things that you're doing that they now become habit. This is why on one of the other lessons I talked about personalize your productivity, because you could what there's a habit, there's a routine system and things that you've gotten that has gotten you to a certain point in your life, but now you're still doing it. You're like, well, why am I still feeling stuck and stagnant? Because that routine no longer works for you. And you have to have the courage to say, you know what, I need to make a shift, whether you can do that on your own or with a coach or strategist. All right. So, where am I blindly following something that no longer works as it relates to my goal and my vision? What is frustrating you? A lot of times we're not honest about that. And don't think that, well, I don't want to, it shouldn't frustrate me because it's so minor, but it's you. My mom used to tell me, she used to, every time she would pick me up or I would walk with her. Her birthday was Sunday on the 15th, that it just passed. For those of you who don't know me, she's no longer with me. She passed away now 12, about almost 13 years now. Her and my grandfather are 3 weeks apart. But she used to tell me to state whatever that is bothering me or that I'm dealing with, because although it may seem minor to her, it's very real to me. So she allowed me to just vent and get things out. And then once I got out, kind of laughed about some of them, or some of them are, were really painful, but that was something that I learned really early on. Like, it is real to me. So what's frustrating you? Regardless if somebody thinks it's minor, it is you, because it's what you can control and deal with, and it's keeping you stuck, not them. All right, what is broken and needs to be fixed? Now, be careful with this, because don't there are things that can be broken that needs to be stay broken. There are things that are broken that don't need to be fixed immediately. So don't go in this cycle of trying to fix everything, right? Some things just it is what it is. So if it can be broke, stay broken for a while because it doesn't impact what you're doing now, leave it alone. So don't get trapped into the cycle of I need to go everything that's broken about me, I need to go fix it. No, no, no. Statistical significance, the 5% of what you can control in this moment to move you forward. And then who is draining me? Be honest. Sometimes you are draining you, right? But there are some people, uh, some social media accounts. There are some people that are draining you, some people that pop up on your text, your feed or whatever. Deal with them accordingly, right? What am I avoiding? Now remember, it's a lot of things that we're avoiding, but in order for this to work for you, the statistical significance is what are you avoiding as it relates to this goal, this assignment that you are doing. And you can have 3 to 5 goals that you're focused on. Some people say only focus on one. Do what works for you. Like, some of us can do multiple things. We're multidimensional and multifaceted that way. But you. So, what are you avoiding as it relates to what you are doing now? Are you avoiding showing up on social media as a thought leader? Are you avoiding having difficult conversations? Are you avoiding really what's happening with your body? look at those, just start with the 5 areas I talked about. What are you avoiding in those areas? And then where am I stalled or stuck? You know good and well where you are stalled and stuck. You may not know the tools and strategies to get unstuck all the way, but So be honest with yourself. All right. So those are the things I want to talk to you about. Now, this is where I'm going to talk to you about what I showed up on, what I saw on threads and how this relates to toleration. So somebody said, now I took a screenshot because y'all know how I was with threads. They don't be I can't go back to them. So one person her Dr. Sheena Howard. She just popped up on when I post on my thread. So you can go follow me over there. She says, having a PhD and being a creative entrepreneur is a trip. I see PhDs in their 40s doing speaking engagements for 500s, and I get to see 20 somethings with no advanced degrees doing speaking engagements on the same topics for $5,000. Environment and mindset is the only thing keeping you broke sometimes. So this is where I'm going to talk about money because sometimes when people think about personal development and self-help, then I'm just going to put money to the side because money is not important to me. Lies you tell yourself. All right. So that's why it's like we're talking about personal leadership. There are things, your big vision that you have that we talked about on lesson one. There is no way that you can operate that vision without income and resources. And you can say, for those of you who are believers, that I pray to God and He will provide. Yes, He already provided you with gifts and talents for you to go and execute what you need to execute and to build relationships with people you need to build relationships so you can have those tangible resources, money to do the things He called you to do. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is because if you're looking in the area of money or finances, what are you tolerating about why you can't either charge for what you're doing, raise prices, or um, have a different level of income? Those are things that you're tolerating that are holding you back more than you think, right? So you can go through those questions that I outlined for you as it relates to money. A lot of you who are listening and watching with me do have these advanced degrees or this advanced experience, and you want to have more income and impact, but you're not pursuing it, right? Because these are some things that you're tolerating. Oh, I shouldn't charge for this because it's just a service. Or if I do this in church, then it's just for ministry. Or I used to say this, well, I'm an educator, so we don't make that type of money. Lies. But that's what I was tolerating. Well, it is just what it is because I started off as an engineer major. I'm like, well, I should have went over there to make the money. But me being a teacher, there's no money in education. So I was tolerating that outdated belief or working in that routine that no longer worked for me. So if you're honest with yourself, you're going to have to deal with your money issues because there's no way that you can say that you want to eliminate world hunger, help women in domestic violence or foster children or build orphanages or um, provide luxury experiences for people who may not have the opportunity because it can go on both sides. Sometimes we lean so much on the despair where a desire, there are people who want to experience desire as well, and you could be that person. So let's not always focus on the despair part and we can focus or the pain, but we can also focus on the desire. So you're going to have to deal with that. And what are you tolerating about that? So I like to see that because I've dealt with that. I was tolerating like uh there was a case where I people were saying, well, don't charge too high for full day workshops, just charge $3,500, because that's what the people can bear. Like you're this consultant. Now this was when I was in my getting my doctorate degree. And one of the professors, not at my university, but she was kind of quote unquote like my mentor, and she was like, well, that's your going rate of where you start. So I was like, oh man, okay. But then I was seeing other people, 5, 10, 15, $20,000. Same university, they had a guest speaker come in and he did like maybe 2 hours, something. They paid for him to come in, did a little song and dance, 20 grand, and he was out. And I'm like, he wasn't even here all day. And somebody telling me with all the stuff that I should only be doing $3,500. So I was still operating at that until I saw something bigger. But even with seeing that man, I was still tolerating that outdated belief. And then I had to do some work. And then I was like, ain't no way I'm charging $3,500 for no full day thing. My stuff started at $7,500 at that time when I'm doing some consulting. So I wanted you to see that example of what does a toleration look like in real life and how it relates to your big vision. So that I'm giving you permission, those of you with advanced degrees and advanced experiences, because sometimes it doesn't always take traditional education, but I know us, right? We have already laid that foundation of being able to charge. And it's not even talking about charge what I worth. You can't charge what you're worth. You can charge according to your expertise and experiences and results that you produce, which is way more than $500. So I hope that freed somebody. Let me know down in the comments how that made you feel. Now, the other part is somebody commented this, her name was Sasha Does Thing. She says she posted this on her feed, and this is a comment to the thread. She says, do you know what determines how much money you will make as a brain-based service provider? That's a lot of us. Your level of entitlement for it. So I like that too because that also talked to the tolerations, like who's around you that's draining you with these negative thought beliefs about money and impact that's keeping you from going, that's keeping you stuck, that's keeping you in the same mundane routine or keeping you at a certain income level. This could go for any income level. I've been in rooms where people who are making, you know, like $1 to $3 million a year. And to me, I'm like, okay, yes, that's great. But the mentors, like, you could really go for 10. You have the model, the capabilities, the expertise to run a $10 million business. They're calling them higher, but they're like, but I'm comfortable right here at 1 to 3 million. So it doesn't matter at what level. Until we leave this planet, we are always called to strive and do more, because when you have more money and you have more reach and impact and the ability to do so. And then last thing that I saw as far as it relates to tolerations, um, Con Concita Thomas, she commented on that. She was like, yes, like literally, she was, yes. She said, as an entrepreneur with an Ivy League degree and a master's in mechanical engineering, I agree that having backstage access to both worlds is a trip. The biggest takeaway I've gleaned is that while mindset and environment matter, conviction, clarity, preparation, and audacity may matter most. I've seen people make a lot in both realms. The thing they had in common was conviction, clarity, preparation, and audacity. So somebody was like, oh, so what I'm getting from you is I need to have the audacity. Absolutely. When you deal with the tolerations, you need to tell that, you know what, this right here, I'm not dealing with that anymore. And you have the audacity to kick those tolerations to the curb. Now, this is more than just a mental thing about tolerations. You actually have to do some work. So if you're tolerating, right now, transparent moment, there's a pile of stuff over here that I need to get it together. And it has been bothering me and draining me. And even right now, you see how it's just distracting me, right? It's more than just like I'm not gonna tolerate the mess in my corner of my office. Okay, be now, when you're finished, you need to get up and go deal with that and take the action to do it. So it could be cleaning up a space. It could be making a phone call to the doctor's appointment, something so small. It could be having a conversation with someone. It could be, just writing them down and then highlighting the ones that you're going to focus on. So it can start off small, but then you have to take the action to do that. All right. So the first thing, you state the tolerations as it relates to the vision and the goal that you're focusing on now in this season, and then you work to deal with them, unmask them, and then kick them out into the curb. Last thing I'll say as we wrap up is, don't expect uh, to never have any other things get uncovered and unfolded. As you go to another level, you continue to do exercises like this, and that's how you grow your personal leadership. So if you keep doing this, instead of taking years to unmask, you'll start noticing tolerations like within a couple of days, a couple of hours, and immediately deal with them, and then that'll help you to propel forward. All right. So thank you so much for listening and learning with me. If you want to take a deeper dive and to really stay connected to things, Master Coach U, that is an on-demand self-help kind of a library of videos and downloadables, about 60 something hours worth for you to start on your path in 4 different zones, complimentary as of now. You can go to the description down below, drvernitaglenn-white.com/master coach you. Watch the video, read up on it, and I would love for you to join me over there, self-guided and things like that, for you to jumpstart on some of these things that we're talking about. The other thing to do is I'm hosting a series of str curated strategy sessions, for a limited time. For a limited time, the next one, as of now, is September 24th. What you can do is go through my pre-recorded virtual expo. You can start listening to some of the speakers. If you upgrade to VIP to become a next level attendee, you can get the workbook and see what the people are talking about. So you can, and then the videos will be kind of dripped out to you over about 3 days. But you can sign up for the workshop before that. But I wanted you to have some value, to get some insight from people who are talking about moving from resume to reinvention to remarkable. And then if you want to upgrade, then you can join me for a curated strategy session on how to put all these things together and come out with a plan. It's very low cost. And I'm doing that as just like an introduction to get you started, whether you want to continue to work with me or someone else. So for example, if you watched all of these videos, especially up to this point, then you're like, okay, I need some help on where to go next. Well, if you go through the virtual expo, there is an offer discount. I don't like to say discount, but it's a special offer price because you went through that, right? And when you come to the workshop, then we can sit down and you can say, well, this is where I am. Essentially, we can do something like this. This is where I am. These are the goals I focus on. I need support on what to do next. And then that's it. We stop there. There's no, I don't tell you to come over to no long out program. I just invite you to stay connected. So when the opportunity presents itself, then you can be ready. But if I'm not the fit, at least you have uh, a map to where you're not starting from scratch if you decide to go work with another coach, strategist, or mentor. If you're like, I don't want those videos in my inbox, then you would just invest in the regular investment. They're both under $100, which is significantly lower if you just decided to have a laser direct one-on-one strategy session with me that starts at $5,000 an hour. So I'm doing that because I think it's the right thing to do to make sure that you don't leave just wide open with information. I want to make sure that we tie it up with a little bow and send you on your way. So I'm doing those. When you sign up, you'll get the outline of the dates. I know the next one is the 24th, and then I do two more in October and two more in November before I start opening up like my next programs or containers or incubators that I am I will share with you move at a later date. All right. So that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for listening and learning with me. Remember to comment down below. Share these videos with someone who could benefit, just send them the link. There's no full discussion. Just say, hey, I thought this would be cool for you to watch because that also helps me out. But then that shows that you are a giver, and then watch what comes back to you. And that's one way you can support me. It's not always monetary, but it's your watch time and then you sharing and then your comments down below. All right. Thank you so much. And whether you're beginning your day or ending your day, remember to be well, to be empowered, to be bold, and to be brilliant. Until next time. Bye.